Welcome to Miami Minute, where we cover my favorite team, the Miami Dolphins. And here's a topic that I never thought I would be covering as a Dolphins fan. It's a very embarrassing time. Bullygate, of course, you're familiar with it. Happened, in 2013, back when I was in college, and it really torpedoed the Dolphins season. So the main headline of this is Jonathan Martin, the person who was bullied in Bullygate, who quit the team, who all this was centered around, has insisted that he never believed that he was being bullied, and it was kind of a situation that spiraled out of control. He did a very lengthy series of interviews with ESPN's Anthony Oliveri, and I would suggest go reading that. Just search Bullygate ESPN, you'll be able to find it. It's very long, it's a good read. It sheds a lot of light on how this spiraled so far out of hand, but I want to read a segment from it and kind of give my thoughts. So this is from the article. By phone in March 2024, Martin reflected on the Wells report, saying, quote, "It's my greatest regret of my life to this day is participating in that clown show," close quote. Things happened in the locker room. His teammates called him names and said racist things to his face. They made misogynistic comments on the spectrum of behavior in football locker rooms. It was extreme, he said, but after Bullygate broke, Martin became the martyr in face of bullying, a role he says he didn't want to play. He didn't excuse what Incognito and the others did. It angered him, but he saw himself as a football player who had earned his spot on the team. Quote, "I was an NFL starter," he said. "I was getting paid millions of dollars," close quote. He saw the world of football as intensely competitive, and he saw himself as someone strong enough to be there. When Martin left the Dolphins facility on October 28th, 2013, reporters started asking questions. At some point after his departure, Martin said during the 2024 call, his mother told reporters that he was being bullied in Miami and that she said, quote, said the word bullying. This is Martin. "I had a situation with my teammates that I wasn't super happy about, but my mother had her own read on the situation. The word took on a life of its own and the situation went viral. I hadn't even told my coaches. I hadn't told anyone. And suddenly it's on ESPN, right? At the time, he didn't push back. I didn't believe any of the stances I was taking, right, where I'm this victim. I wasn't a victim, right? And again, it's been a point of consternation. His mom and I did strongly intervene," Gus Martin, Martin's father, said, "to make sure he was protected. Jonathan initially had shared with his parents that he hadn't shared with anyone else about what happened in the Miami locker room. Jane Howard Martin declined to speak for his story, but Jonathan's friend Tariq remembers Martin's parents always trying to create a safe space for him, to not have to encounter the same things that they did. It's hard to picture them trying to take control during the it isn't hard to picture them trying to take control during the days of Bullygate." This is Martin again. "My mother, maybe in her mind, I can't read her mind, she thought she was doing the right thing." Looking back, Martin said that the call that he understands why his parents would have been overprotective of him. Martin continues, "She wasn't intentionally trying to hurt me." He said most people, especially those who didn't play the game, might think what happened to him was bullying. But men who sweat and grunt and bang heads for a living often act a certain way when they are around each other. She never played football. She doesn't know what it's like to communicate when you're playing football. He did need to step away. He said the environment and pressures took a toll on him. There's certain things I want to acknowledge. One was I was not well. I needed some sort of a break from football. Martin said that he doesn't view not standing up to Incognito and the other players as cowardly. "I was young and I didn't know how to handle it. The regret now," he said, "is how the investigation proceeded and how we responded to the story going public and the resulting fallout. As a result of that," Martin said he no longer could call himself a good teammate at the time. Martin, "I should have stood up to it more. I should have been like, look, this is wrong." Before hanging up, Martin seemed to replay the moment in his head. He could have told team management his version of the story. He said he could have put out a statement and made it clear to the public that he was going on, what was going on, and how he felt about it. He could have countered what his mother had told the reporters. He didn't need this to be a tit for tat on TMZ, right? He said, "I should have sat down with the owner and head coach and the Dolphins and figured it out." So that was very interesting, I thought, and it kind of goes to show, like, one, I do feel for Jonathan Martin in the sense that he said that he suffered from depression and he didn't handle the situation correctly. Somebody spoke to his mother without him knowing that this would happen. His mother said it was bullying. At the time in the country, bullying was like under a microscope. And of course, bullying is not good, but there was like a huge, intense backlash to this. And Richie Incognito I do think he's earned a reputation as a hothead, someone who perhaps has a few screws loose, and it made him like a pretty easy face of the situation to put the blame on, to kind of have like the nation enact their resentment towards bullies and put it on to Richie Incognito. But let's be honest, he looks like he's a bully. He's got the bully look. He looks like Bulk from Power Rangers, right? And I think what a lot of people don't understand, and how could we? We've never been in NFL locker rooms, as Martin says. Communication in NFL locker rooms is quite different than communications in other workplaces. Stuff that is said and done in NFL locker rooms wouldn't fly. Is that right or wrong? I mean, that's up to the individual person to concede. Obviously, the Wells report found it wrong and found it to be bullying. But if Jonathan Martin himself didn't feel that it was bullying, he should have spoke up in the moment. And I think it's good that he's speaking up now, but there was a lot of fallout. Richie Incognito was suspended for that season. He missed all of 2014, missing out on money and really permanently having his reputation altered. Also, the offensive line coach, Jim Turner, was fired, and in 2015, he filed a lawsuit over the Wells report. And this is from an ESPN article at the time. Turner, who thinks his reputation and career have been unfairly affected, believes that the Wells report on the Dolphins negatively and perhaps permanently altered his ability to land in another NFL head coach or another NFL coaching job. Certainly stymied the potential of his career. I think that goes without saying. But I think, this is just a very messy situation, a situation that like really made me embarrassed to be a Dolphins fan, and one that was handled poorly, not only by the team, by the players, by media surrounding it, right? Like why are we only getting this 10 years after the fact? I really took umbrage with the fact there's a Dolphins beat reporter, Mark Kelly, who I do respect and I think he does a good job, but he had a weird tweet where he was like, we had to report on things we knew weren't true. And I do personally feel, and obviously I'm just a guy who writes some blogs and has a YouTube channel, but like that's not your job to report what you know is false as a journalist. Even if like you want to say like, oh, you're a sports journalist, it's not as serious. Like these are real people who suffered real consequences from the full story not necessarily being out there. And I want to say like that is your job as a reporter. So bad on all of the Miami beat reporters for not getting more out of this, and just a horrible situation. Hopefully, like Jonathan Martin's able to learn and grow from this. Hopefully, he's able to make amends in some way with Richie Incognito, with Jim Turner, with anyone else who's kind of caught in the crossfire. And hopefully, Richie Incognito's able to potentially rehab his reputation and kind of get people to understand that, like, yeah, maybe this stuff wouldn't fly in a normal workplace, but the NFL locker room isn't a normal workplace. So, very complicated situation. I do wish that Jonathan Martin, if he truly feels like he wasn't bullied at the time, that he had come out and, squashed it in the moment, because this is a, huge moment in the NFL, especially for the Dolphins. So, you're a Dolphins fan. I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. Please go read the full article, of course. It's very well written and very informative, gives a ton of information. It's incredibly long because it was a series of interviews dating back to 2023 to get the whole story out there. So great work by Anthony there. And yeah, just very interesting situation. Please give me your thoughts on it. And yeah, that's it for this segment.